At 35, you receive a text at 11:18 p.m. It's from Marcus. You stare at the screen longer than you should. 10 years ago, Marcus was the guy everyone wanted to be. First promotion, first big projects, first name managers mentioned when they talked about potential. When people compared you to him, it wasn't meant as a compliment. You still remember the joke. Maybe some of Marcus's ambition will rub off on you. Last night, Marcus asked if you could lend him $3,000. Not invest, not partner, lend. You sent the money before he finished explaining why. The strange part wasn't that you could afford it. The strange part was realizing there was a time when you would have bet everything on Marcus winning and you losing. Everyone would have, including Marcus. The gap between your lives wasn't created by talent, intelligence, or effort. It started with a decision so small that nobody noticed it. Not even you. To understand why Marcus was asking for money, you have to go back to the moment you both started with the same chance. Rewind. You're 24. It's Thursday afternoon and your paycheck arrived 6 hours ago. For a moment, the number in your account feels reassuring. Then the withdrawals begin. Rent, insurance, the credit card bill you promised would be smaller. By dinner, the money already feels spoken for. You aren't struggling. At least that's what you tell yourself. Then, one evening, standing in line for coffee, you notice an older man from your office. Same company badge, same tired posture, same look of someone counting the days until payday. A thought slips into your head and refuses to leave. What if this never changes? You aren't broke. But one Tuesday morning, your car won't start. The repair costs $680. You can pay it. That's not the problem. The problem is knowing exactly what paying it will disrupt. One ordinary expense quietly steals the next several weeks. And for the first time, you realize how fragile everything actually is. A few months later, you get promoted. Everyone congratulates you. You celebrate. Upgrade the apartment. Replace the phone. Spend a little easier. For a while, life feels bigger. Then one night, you're staring at your banking app when something strange hits you. Your salary changed. Your stress didn't. The numbers are larger. The feeling is exactly the same. You've spent years climbing a ladder that never seems to reach another floor. And Marcus looks like proof that the ladder works. One Monday morning, he arrives in a new SUV. People gather around it before work. Questions, compliments, admiration. Marcus tries to act casual. Nobody believes him. Standing across the parking lot, you feel something uncomfortable. Not admiration, envy. Because from where you're standing, Marcus looks like he's winning. A week later, you're sitting in a dealership. The payment fits. Technically, most people would sign. But as the salesman waits, you realize something. You don't want the car. You want what the car seems to say about you. You leave without buying it. The drive home feels awful, like you've watched everyone board a train and chosen to stay behind. You don't know it yet, but that decision will change everything. A few weeks later, your manager stops by your desk. Nice work this quarter. There's a bonus coming, $1,800. You smile, thank him, go back to work, and then you wait for the feeling. The excitement, the relief, proof that you're finally getting somewhere. It never arrives. That night, you sit alone at your kitchen table and start doing math you've never done before. Not next month, your whole life. Retirement, commutes, paychecks, decades of repeating the same cycle. And for the first time, a different question appears. You've spent years trying to make the next paycheck bigger. What if the paycheck itself is the problem? The thought doesn't scare you. It disappoints you. Because for the first time, you can see the finish line. And it looks exactly like the life you're already living. For the first time, you aren't asking how to earn more money. You're asking something much harder. Is this really the life I want? The next morning, that question follows you to work. Not dramatically, just quietly, like a song stuck in your head. You notice things you normally ignore. The rush toward promotions, the countdown to Friday, the constant chase for more. Then you see him again, the older man from the coffee line. At lunch, you end up sitting across from him. Can I ask you something? You say. He nods. How are you never stressed? He studies you for a moment, then points toward the parking lot. Most people out there are spending money to buy a feeling. You wait. They just picked the wrong feeling. You ask what he means. The feeling they're buying is admiration. He shrugs. The feeling I bought was freedom. Then he changes the subject completely. But the sentence follows you home. That night, you sit at your kitchen table and do something you've never done before. You stop measuring income, promotions, and job titles. You try to measure freedom. The number staring back at you is embarrassingly small. For years, you've been tracking the wrong scoreboard. So on your next payday, you make a decision nobody else notices. Before paying a single bill, you move money into a separate account. Not a huge amount, just enough to matter. The transfer takes less than 30 seconds. Nothing about it feels important. That's what makes it dangerous to ignore. A few days later, you open a calendar and circle a date years into the future. Beside it, you write 2 words: mine again. You fold the paper, put it in a drawer, and tell nobody. Then life continues. No dramatic announcement, no resignation letter, just a quiet habit repeated every payday. Months pass, then years. By 26, something changes. Not your salary, not your title, your priorities. The things that once felt urgent start losing their grip. The upgrades, the promotions, the need to impress people you'll barely remember in 5 years. At a birthday dinner, someone eventually asks the question, "So, what's next for you?" Around the table come the usual answers: promotions, condos, new jobs, bigger plans. When your turn arrives, you shrug. Honestly, same job. Things are good. A few polite nods. Then the conversation moves on. Driving home, a strange feeling settles in. For the first time, you can see how your life looks from the outside. It looks like nothing is happening. No milestones, no visible progress, no proof. And for a while, that bothers you more than you'd like to admit. Because the hardest part isn't being misunderstood. It's wondering whether the people misunderstanding you might be right. At work, people still measure success the same way they always have: titles, raises, new purchases. For years, your job title answered the question, "Who are you?" Now it doesn't. And for a while, nothing replaces it. No applause, no recognition, no sign you're on the right path. Just a number growing quietly where nobody can see it. By 27, your life still looks almost unchanged. Same apartment, same Corolla, same commute. Then, one Monday, Marcus pulls into the parking lot in another new vehicle. People gather around before either of you reaches the building. Questions, compliments, admiration. Marcus smiles. People notice. People always notice. As you watch from across the lot, a thought crosses your mind. A year ago, this would have ruined your entire day. This time, it doesn't. And that surprises you far more than the car. The world around you was still keeping score. One morning, Marcus gives you a reminder of exactly what that scorecard looks like. He glances at your Corolla, then back at you. "You doing all right?" he asks. You tell him you're fine. He nods slowly, the kind of nod people give when they don't quite believe you. "If things ever get tight, let me know." He means it. That's what makes it sting. Later that day, you overhear 2 coworkers talking about you. "I feel bad for him," one says. "He used to seem more ambitious." The other shrugs. "Maybe he's helping family or something." You keep walking. You don't correct them. What's the point? They're not being cruel. They're just judging your life with the only scoreboard they understand. For the first time, you realize you're no longer trying to prove you're winning. You're protecting something they can't see. Years pass. The calendar stays folded in the drawer. The habit continues. Every payday, the same quiet transfer. By 29, you've reached the part nobody talks about. The part where you're doing everything right and still wonder if you're wrong. There's no applause, no visible proof. Just a number growing slowly in the background. Then your best friend buys a house. The photo explodes across the group chat. "Congratulations." Fire emojis. "Proud of you, man." You stare at the picture longer than you should. Not because you're jealous, because it's visible. It's the kind of achievement people understand instantly. And for a moment, a difficult question appears. If someone looked at your life right now, what would they celebrate? That night, you pull the calendar from the drawer. The date is closer than it used to be, but not close enough. 5 years of saying no. 5 years of watching other people collect milestones you could point to. Houses, promotions, cars, titles. You sit there staring at the numbers, trying to feel proud. Instead, you feel doubt, real doubt. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe everyone who felt sorry for you was right. Maybe you've spent years building a future that never arrives. For the first time, you seriously consider stopping. And that's the moment nobody warns you about. Not when you start. Years later. When you've been patient for so long that the finish line still feels imaginary. By 30, the thing you miss most isn't the money. It's the scoreboard, the promotions, the recognition, the simple feeling of knowing where you stand. The race was exhausting, but at least it came with applause. This new life doesn't. And some days, the silence feels heavier than you expected. Because when nobody is watching your progress, you start craving the one thing you promised yourself you didn't need anymore: proof. One night, after a long day, you open a car listing app. Just to look. A newer model appears on the screen. The payments seem reasonable. For a moment, you imagine pulling into the office parking lot. People noticing. People asking questions. People finally seeing proof that you're doing well. The fantasy grows. A version of your life where success is visible again, where nobody feels sorry for you, where the car explains everything for you. You know exactly what it would cost. Not just money, years, the freedom date, the future you've been quietly building. And yet, for 30 seconds, none of that matters. Because you don't want the car. You want the feeling that you're winning. Your thumb hovers over the button. And for the first time in years, you're not completely sure what happens next. 3 weeks later, the decision disappears. Life makes it for you. You're 31. A Thursday morning. An email. Then another. Then a meeting nobody expected. By lunch, half the floor is packing boxes. You and Marcus get the email within minutes of each other. Same company, same day, same outcome. Standing in the parking lot with a cardboard box, you feel the fear you've spent years preparing for. The difference is that now you're prepared. The calendar. The transfers. The weekends you said no. 7 years of quiet decisions. Not enough to retire, but enough to do something most people never get when a crisis arrives. Choose. The safety net works, but using it still feels like falling. You move back in with your parents. At 31. Back to the same bedroom. The same window. The same crack in the ceiling. You cancel the trip you'd finally allowed yourself to plan. Then you sell the motorcycle you'd spent years restoring. The one thing you owned purely for joy. When the buyer rides away, you stand there longer than necessary, listening until the sound disappears. That night, lying in your childhood bed, you pull the calendar from the drawer. The paper is worn now. You recalculate everything. And the answer hits harder than the layoff. The date is moving away, not closer. For the first time since you were 24, you wonder if freedom was never coming at all. 7 years of sacrifice. 7 years of letting people think you were falling behind. And somehow, you've ended up back where you started. The doubt becomes impossible to ignore. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe everyone who felt sorry for you was right. Maybe you've spent years building a future that doesn't exist. You come closer to quitting than ever before. But when the panic settles, you do something unexpected. Nothing. You don't drain the fund. You don't borrow money. You don't take on debt to make your life look normal again. You accept the embarrassment. You accept the smaller life. You accept the silence. And without realizing it, that decision changes everything. Because while you're learning how to survive humiliation without borrowing against your future, Marcus is learning what happens when appearances finally send the bill. He doesn't move home. He keeps the apartment, keeps the SUV, keeps posting photos that make it look like nothing changed. From the outside, he seems fine. Maybe even better than you. He finds another job quickly, not because it's right, because he needs it. The payments never stop, so neither can he. For a while, the image survives. But underneath it, the damage keeps growing. Late night balance transfers, savings disappearing, every month starting further behind than the last. Everyone thinks you're the one who fell. You're living in your childhood bedroom. Marcus still looks successful, but appearances have an advantage. They hide the damage until they can't. From a distance, Marcus still looks like he's swimming. The truth is that every stroke is pulling him further underwater. And for the first time, the numbers didn't look like money anymore. A few months after the layoff, something changes. Not overnight. Not dramatically. One morning, sitting in that childhood bedroom, you open the spreadsheet again. The numbers aren't bigger. They just mean something different. For years, you thought you were saving money. What you were really saving was time. Options. The ability to survive a bad season without making a desperate decision. The ability to say no. The ability to wait. For the first time, you can see what all those quiet years actually built. Nobody else notices. They're still focused on the fact that you moved home. You stopped needing them to understand. When you start interviewing again, everything feels different. You're no longer choosing from panic. You can afford to wait. So when one offer feels wrong, you walk away. When another underpays, you walk away from that too. Eventually, you accept a job. Not because you have to, because you choose to. And slowly, time stops feeling like an emergency. A flat tire becomes an inconvenience, not a crisis. A bad boss becomes a reason to update your resume, not a cage you're trapped in. You didn't become rich overnight. You became something much rarer. You became someone with options. One evening, while cleaning out a drawer, you find the folded calendar. The paper is worn thin. You unfold it. There it is. The date. The one you circled at 24. You check your phone. The date passed earlier that day. An ordinary Tuesday. No celebration. No announcement. No fireworks. The moment you've been working toward for years arrived so quietly that you almost missed it. And that's what nobody understands about winning. The biggest victories rarely look dramatic when they happen. Life keeps moving. But over the next few years, something interesting changes. The same people who once looked at your life with concern start asking questions, usually in private, usually when nobody else is around. How did you actually pull this off? And every time it happens, you're reminded of something. You never escaped because you were smarter. You never escaped because you worked less. You escaped because you were willing to spend years earning rewards nobody could see. Years without applause. Years without proof. Years without knowing if you were right. Most people can survive hard work. Very few can survive being misunderstood for that long. And then one night, at 35, Marcus is sitting on your couch, a cup of coffee cooling in his hands, asking the question for real. How did you do it? For a moment, you don't answer. Your mind drifts back. To the dealership, to the birthday dinner, to the coworkers who felt sorry for you, to the childhood bedroom where you were sure everything had failed. Back then, it felt like you were losing. Now you can see the truth. The game had already been won. Nobody could see it yet. Not your friends, not your coworkers, not even you. You look at Marcus and finally answer. There wasn't a secret. He frowns. What do you mean? You smile. For 10 years, nobody noticed I was getting ahead. Not my family, not my friends, not even you. And that's exactly why it worked. Marcus looks down at his coffee. Because deep down, he already understands. The moment your future matters more than the audience, your decisions start changing. The moment you stop needing people to witness your progress, the race loses its grip on you. You lean back into the couch. The room goes quiet. And for the first time in a very long time, there's nowhere else you need to be.